A U.S. man has been sent to prison for the crime of installing a wind turbine on his own property in Orono, Minnesota. What's up, everybody? True Seeker here. Does it just get any crazier when it comes to stupid things like this? Like, the cities look like mafias when it comes to things like this. It just makes no sense. When I first seen the title of this article, I was expecting it to be like a giant wind farm kind of windmill or something, you know, that this guy had installed. And instead, it's actually these little tiny ones, which I don't understand exactly why the city would complain about that, other than because obviously they're not making enough money off their power. So this is their way of enforcing that, I guess. But it says, when Jay Nygaard decided to add a 2-story wind turbine to his home, he thought that by going to the legal route and informing the city of his plans, he was doing the right thing. HealthNet News reports, however, the city denied his request to harvest the wind and create its own energy. So Jay decided it was time to fight for not only his rights, but the rights of his fellow Minnesotans. I'll go ahead and play this video here for you real quick.
Between one family and the city of Orono, and they say it's a zoning violation. Neighbors consider it a nuisance. Now, one person has been sent to jail all over a wind turbine, mind you. Fox 9 Jack Heiberger spoke to the family at the center of all of this. He joins us now. Why a wind turbine causing so much trouble here?
You know, Tim, I guess it's a matter of personal preference if you kind of want to get into what's causing all of this. Now, personal preference, property rights have all been part of this very long debate, but the courts decided the turbine had to go. And the Nygaard family thought they'd pretty much complied, but as it turns out, this long, drawn-out battle wasn't over.
I am not going to jail over this. It is not worth it.
On the banks of Lake Minnetonka, a wind revolution is gasping for air.
Nobody should have to go through this just to prove that we all have the right to harvest the wind.
Kendall Nygaard, you could say, is the last woman standing. To the right of where she's sitting is all that's left of a 30-foot wind turbine.
So right there is the one at issue.
We first caught up with her husband, Jay Nygaard, in the now infamous turbine back in 2014. At the time, he was in the midst of litigation, the city of Orono suing and a judge later ordering the turbine taken down. But through it all, Nygaard refused to give in, setting up this question from Fox 9's Tom Lydon.
Are you ready to go to jail for this?
I'm ready to go to jail for everybody in Minnesota's rights.
And ready or not, that's exactly what happened. Just so our viewers can understand, where are you right now?
I'm in the short-term jail on Hennepin County.
On Friday, a Hennepin County judge held Nygaard in contempt of court, sentenced to 6 months in jail.
I keep saying to myself and my friends and family that we've been talking about it, how can this be happening in America? That someone's incarcerated for basically a half to 2/3 of a concrete footing remaining, and it's not ever going up again.
The Nygaards say their turbine is down for good, but by court order, they're also supposed to remove the foundation, something they say threatened to damage their home. But after years of back and forth, the courts was short on sympathy.
I'm trying to do the right thing for the country, for my community, and for the future, and what happens to me? I end up in jail.
And he'll stay there until it's removed, a tall task Kendall hopes to have done by early next week, putting this windy nightmare to rest, at least for now. And you may have noticed there, they have other small wind turbines. So far, the city has let those slide. Tim.
Definitely some crazy stuff right there. It says the U.S. federal government, as well as many states and city governments, have been cracking down on individual property rights and sustainable living for some time. Thanks to their incredibly misguided efforts, it's now illegal in parts of the U.S. to have a garden in your front lawn, collect rainwater on your own property, or live off the grid. You can even be arrested on your own property for protesting the installation of a pipeline that you never consented to. This troublesome trend is taking place in part because the government and the system in general wish to prevent significant portions of the population from being independent, empowered, and self-sufficient. Nygaard would eventually go to jail for his beliefs. Jail. While he did eventually remove the not especially loud or ugly turbine, although some of his neighbors did complain, it still wasn't good enough for the city, who demanded that the turbine's cement base also be removed. Despite the fact that the 3 engineers said that the removal of the base would cause structural damage to Nygaard's home, the city continued to demand its removal. Why did the city not permit the turbine? Was it because it allowed him to make his own energy and rely less on and pay less to the state? What is happening in this country when a man can't provide for his family on his own property? When will our government be satisfied with their destruction of our land and environment? I hope it's soon, because we are close to the point of no return. And I 100% agree with that. I mean, this makes no sense. Evolution is supposed to happen, and it makes no sense that we have these local governments in place that is stopping evolution. We were supposed to be way past this already. Everybody should be able to provide their own power at this time. I mean, it's 2017. That's supposed to be the future. And it makes no sense. And the reason why it makes no sense is because of these local government issues. They're sitting there just trying to take every single dollar that you make. How can anybody enjoy living in their town or state if the place where they're living is what's robbing them to begin with? Why would anybody want to stay there? It's backwards. It makes no sense. I think states need to focus on ways of drawing people in instead of making people want to leave. I don't know. But definitely leave your thoughts in the comments below on what you think about this. And thanks for watching, everybody.
I don't text.
All right, here's a question for you. Should water be considered public property? Well, what if we're talking about rainwater that you're collecting on your own property? An Oregon man was sentenced to 30 days in jail for collecting rainwater on his personal property.
Well, according to a decades-old law, that's the government's water, and he broke the law. Joining us right now to share his story is Gary Harrington and legal advisor, pal, constitutional researcher Dominic Notter. They both joined us today from Portland, Oregon. Good morning to you guys.
Good morning.
So, Gary, the state of Oregon says you are a water thief, right?
Isn't that terrible? Boy, we've had these ponds for 37 years, and they were designed and built for the purpose of fire protection. And they've been used for fire protection 4 or 5 different times by 3 different agencies, and to protect homes, protect property. But yet now they want to drain them. They're putting me in jail for
Dominic, why?
Well, it's an overreach of the law. They're saying that the diffused water that runs across the property can't be collected by Gary for the use of this, and that's totally outside of the definition of the law itself. And anytime there's a law that has overreach like this, it's up to the jury actually to decide the law and the fact. And that's what's happened here is actually an action that's breaking his civil rights, because the jury was disallowed from hearing this. The very fact that would stop his case from finding him guilty, they were denied to hear it.
Well, it just does seem so crazy. And we're looking at some video of firefighters taking some of the water out of your pond to use on an adjacent property owner's fire. Well, it all comes down to, Gary, they say that there's a 1925 law there in Oregon that gives the Water Commission all the rights to the water. And apparently that includes water that just is naturally flowing to your property or occurring on your property, right?
Well, that's not true. That's not true.
That's where the misapplication is.
That's what
it says tributaries. Yes, it says tributaries. It doesn't say anything about rainwater.
It specifically excludes the others because it defines what is a tributary.
But guys, what I'm trying to get at is, why do they want to drain the ponds? For what benefit?
We're in the prime season of fire season. I mean, look at Colorado, everywhere else it's burning right now, and they want to put him in harm's way, and they're going to charge a $100,000 fine, up to $100,000 if a fire goes off his property onto another person's property. How is that justice?
So it's big government getting greedy.
Yeah. No, this is clearly a misapplying of a law. That's why the jury has the right to strike a law down in this case. If a law is inappropriate in a given case, the jury has the right to do this. And the jury doesn't know this. And when they're precluded from hearing this, from understanding this, how can they be a fair jury?
Yeah.
How can they be a fair trial for it?
So, Gary, are you going to report to jail?
Oh, if I have to, yes. And I'll pay the fine. But boy, I am just going to fight like crazy to keep the water in the ponds.
No, the only thing he did wrong, the only thing this guy did wrong was stand up for what's right.
Sure.
I mean, he's guilty for standing up for what's right. What's next? We go out in the wintertime on Gary's property, and you open your mouth and catch a snowflake, and the state's going to say you're the containment, and that's their water?
Are they going to start regulating our air that we breathe?
Eventually,
next, solar panels and sunlight.
Well, it seems like a crazy story, and we're sorry that you're going through this, Gary. Maybe we'll pay you a visit in the Slammer. Hopefully you won't be there too long.
What we need is to get on with Gretchen or Riley or one of the other Cheyenne, Glenn Beck. Let's expose this. Let's let the jury of the American people see what the law and the fact is here and see if they think it's an overreach of the government. It clearly is.
Well, you've appeared on the #1 cable news show in the world, so let's see if we can get
we
some
watch
action.
you guys all the time.
All right,
we love you.
Gary and
thank you.
Dominic, we thank you both for joining us so early out there in Portland, Oregon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.